Students, we are starting with today's topic, preparing the problem statement. We'll start the understanding about the problem statement with one example. Look at the problem statement here. Design the software to support a computerized banking network, including both the human cashier and the automated teller machines, to be shared by the consortium of banks. Each bank provides its own computer to maintain own accounts and process transactions against them. Cashier stations are owned by the individual banks and communicates directly with their own bank's computer. Human cashiers enter the account and the transaction data. Now, by looking at this particular statement, we have come to know that they want to develop a software which supports both the manual working within the bank and also which supports the working of the ATMs. So if you look at this particular diagram, they say they want a central computer, right, which is owned by the consortium, that is association of the banks, right, and we have different banks, right. Within the bank we have some cashier station, where a place at where the cash will be collected, right, and within bank we'll be having multiple accounts, right, and this particular central computer is also connected to the different ATM machines of different banks here, that will come under that particular consortium, and this particular person can access the account using the card here. Otherwise, he comes manually to the bank, he will do the transaction using the cashier who is sitting at this particular station, right. So this problem statement is explaining us what are its expectations from the new system that is developed, what functionality it will do. It also gives us some design details and the implementation part. So our main intention about the problem system is we should be capable of distinguishing between the requirement, design and what falls in the implementation. The requirements details will always consist of what is the problem scope, what is the scope of the problem which you are solving, what is the actual need, why you want this particular system to be developed, and where actually this particular application will be used. You are explaining the application context and assumptions you make before developing that particular software, and what are your performance expectation from the system. This all will come under the requirement statement. The design part will concentrate on the general approaches like the architecture that system follows, the data structures like the variables, operations that has to be included in the class. Next, which optimization technique you use so that we can enhance the performance of the software. Next, what is the capacity plan, what is the size that it can bear with, right, that will be decided in the design. Next is implementation, actually using which platform, on which platform you want your application to run, what are the hardware parts that are to be developed. You have to decide about the programming language and the libraries that has to be included when you start coding. Next, what are the interface standards you will follow when you create a user interface for accessing that particular software. So the main approach or the intention of the problem statement understanding is you should be capable of distinguishing between these three. So without understanding or without differentiating between the requirement, design and implementation, it becomes very much difficult. That's why we should not take any early decisions for the implementation or for the designing, because we should first be clear with the requirement statements, then only we should start with the design and the implementation part. That's why when the problem statement is given, we should analyze it, because many a times the problem statements are ambiguous, incomplete and inconsistent. Because if you look at this particular example only, you can say we have explained us what the human cashiers will do. That is, we have said that the human cashier will enter the account and the transaction data, but since it is incomplete because I have not explained what that particular ATM is doing. I have just said I have covered the human cashier's part. I have not included ATMs. Like that, the problem statements many a times will be incomplete, ambiguous, and inconsistent. That's why the purpose of the analysis is to produce a complete, consistent, and unambiguous description of the problem domain as well as the functional requirements of the system. And the output of this particular analysis is, or the results are, the class models and the behavior models will be drawn at the end of this particular analysis phase. The analysis has two stages. The first stage is the domain analysis and the second stage is the application analysis phase. In the domain analysis, we are verifying the real world working of that particular software and will understand the domain where actually it will be implemented. And in the application analysis, we are looking at the software part, how it will be looked by the end user once that particular application is developed. Let us look at the figure which explains us the overview of the analysis. Initially, the request for the development of the application can be raised either by the user, developer, or the idea may come in the mind of the manager. Once they will sit together or separately, they will generate some requirements. So that is the generate the request for the development of the application. When they will request, when we include everything, we'll get a problem statement, as we have seen one example now. Looking at or by using the problem statement, we can build the models. Before you build the model, to get the details that can be included in the model, because the models that we are building are the class model and the behavior models like use case diagram, sequence diagrams, and the state models will be drawing, right? So when we are building the models, we should interview with the user so that we can extract in-depth idea about the working of or identification of the classes. Otherwise, we should gather the domain knowledge, since the ATM will fall under the banking domain. So I'll go and in depth I'll try to understand what is the domain knowledge I can gather with respect to the development of that particular software. With that also I can have the details to build the models. Otherwise I go personally and I visit that particular domain or the real world place and I'll try to experience how that work will be happening in that particular premises. So it will allow me to understand which class or who are in which all actors are involving and who will cooperate with each other so that they can perform some task. Next is, if already some system is developed in the related field, I'll try to understand it and I can get an idea for building the models, right? Once this particular models are to be built, I'll have the class models, the state models, and the interactions models will be ready. Once these models are ready, it is the end of the particular analysis phase. Now what thing comes above this line is the analysis, which includes both the domain and the application analysis. Once the analysis is done, we are then moving into the design phase. That's why previously I have told you, do not take the early decisions for the design or the implementation, because once the analysis is done, then only we are moving to the design phase. So we'll start with the domain analysis first. In that one, we have domain class model. This is the first step wherein we'll start creating the static structure of the real world. We have learned that class model always explains us the static connection between the different classes that we have identified in the real world. So this is the first step. We should static structure of the real world system will be captured here. Like if you go to bank, we'll have the static figures that will be, we can see live are the employees will be working, the customers will be coming into the premises and they're doing some their transactions, right? We have the association of different banks and the different ATM machines will be working under that particular bank. So I can have the static structure that these all are present in the domain of banking. Next we should do is information from the for the domain model actually comes from the problem statement, facts that are related to the system, and experts knowledge of the application domain and the general knowledge of the real world. So if I want to build a banking software, the problem statement will give me some of the information. Like here in this problem statement, I have come to know that it should support both the human cashier as well as the ATM machine, and somewhere it has been shown that the cashiers are owned by the individual banks. I'll come to know that banks will have cashier stations and they will consist of some accounts. All the banks will come under some central computer and these central computers are connected to ATM. Like this, the domain information comes from the problem statement, or if the related systems are already there, if I study them also, I'll come to know the information. And if somebody has the expertization in that particular domain where it will be applied, there from there also I can gather the information. Next, as a human being will be visiting the banks, right? Our general knowledge for that with respect to that domain also gives us some information. So the steps that are performed to construct the domain class are, the first step is you should first find out the class, because since we are constructing the domain class model, first thing is the class model consists of static structure of different classes that are present in the domain. Now when I say there are many classes are present, the first thing my duty is to find out the classes that are present. In the initial classes, I have told you always the class will correspond to the noun. Just look at a simple problem statement which states a reservation system sells the tickets to the performance at various theatre. Right? It is just like a Book My Show website wherein different theatres have different performances and it allows you to reserve a ticket. So if you look at this particular statement, in this particular problem statement, initially I should find out what are the nouns that are present in these particular statements. Now the nouns that will identify are reservation is a noun, system is a noun, ticket is a noun, performance is noun, and the theatre. Right? So I have found out 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 nouns. So like this, given a problem statement, my first task is to identify the classes. So they are called as the tentative classes because sometimes some of the classes may be redundant or some of the classes may be unnecessary. That's why initially we'll collect the tentative classes and I'll make all the nouns that are present in the problem statement as the classes. Next is to extract which are actually related to my application and keep them only. So the figure to find out the classes are, initially you have the requirement sources, that is the problem statement you have. From that one you extract the nouns. So from extracting the nouns I'll get some tentative classes. From that one I'll remove the spurious, that is unnecessary classes. I'll just remove and I'll keep only those classes which are relevant to my application. So if you look at the problem statement that we have discussed in the beginning of the video, in this one we'll find out the different nouns here. So when the different nouns are identified like this, the nouns that I have found out in that problem statement are software, banking network, cashier, consortium, cache, user, system, access. Like this, many nouns will be present. They are what now? They are the tentative classes that are extracted through the nouns. So first step is what? I have to extract the nouns. All the nouns I'll extract. They becomes my tentative. Next is what? I should eliminate which are not necessary. Okay. So I'll find out all the nouns that are present in the problem statement. Once all the nouns are extracted, my domain knowledge also gives me the different classes identification. For example, I may know the subcomputer knowledge. Whenever I say the word network, I'll come to know that communication line is necessary, right? So if anything is happening on the internet, we'll be keeping track of the transaction logs, right? These two words were not there in the problem statement, but my knowledge with respect to the problem domain has given me the idea to identify these two nouns also. Now I have so many nouns. They are called as the tentative classes. Next thing is I should only keep those classes which have some explicit meaning with respect to the development, right? So the next task is I should keep only the right classes. I should discard the unnecessary and incorrect classes using the following criteria. That is, I have the criteria to identify the bad classes and the good classes. The first, let us eliminate. If I ask you to clean your room, what you do? Before you start cleaning your room, you will first find out the unnecessary things that are there in your room and you will throw them out. Then we'll manage with the required. So similarly, I have everything now available with me. I have some good classes, some bad classes, right? I have extracted all the nouns, but next task is what? I should keep only the necessary one. So to keep the necessary one, what I do? I start discarding the unnecessary classes and those classes which I feel they are incorrect with respect to my application. So those classes which are unnecessary and incorrect, they are called as the bad classes, and which are relevant to my application are the good classes. So if you look at these words like system, security, record keeping and banking network. Now here if you look at the system, what system you are talking about? Are you talking about a computer system, ATM system, bank system, right? The word, even though it is a noun, but it is a vague which has a large broad area of understanding, right? Always when the classes are to be identified, they should be very much specific. I should say computer system, banking system, personal computer system, like that. The word should be specific. So similarly, security, what kind of security you are talking about, right? So when the classes have the vague meaning, I should remove those classes which have a vague meaning, not the specific meaning. Next, I have some classes like cache, receipt, account data. Now, rather than, even though they are the nouns, they are explaining the properties of some other thing. Example, the account data is explaining the information about a customer with whom a account will be related. Account has its own data, right? So the attributes may be noun. So if you find something which is better to keep it as the property rather than making it a class, we should remove such classes also. Next is, sometime the noun may be redundant one. For example, sometime I have used the word user, sometime I have used the word customer. Now customer also a user of the application, user is also user. Now I should remove the redundant classes because I want to be much more specific. Next is the keywords, the nouns like software, accessing, logs, communication line, they will come into the picture at the time of implementation, not at the class design level. So the implementation information has to be taken out from the class. Next is, if they are irrelevant also, I should remove. Now when I have removed all the unwanted and unnecessary classes, I will left out with those classes which have a correct meaning to my application, like account, bank, ATM, cashier, right? Like this, I'll just left out with the only few classes which are actually related to my application.